webinar as part of AbilityNet Live called How Disabled People Can Get the Most from Their Smart Speaker with Robin Christopherson, Luke Hoare from Amazon, and myself, Mark Walker from AbilityNet. As I said, the chat function is turned off on this webinar, so if you have any questions at all, any technical issues, anything you're not sure about, anything you want us to check, please use the Q&A box. So if somebody's asked a question in there, we'll be answering those as we go along if they don't get answered in the content. As your host, I'm keeping an eye on the questions, so please do stick things in there if you've got any questions, and if they don't get answered, we'll pick them up at the end. So today we're going to be asking, what is a smart speaker? And we're going to be focusing principally on Echo devices. And Luke is with us from Amazon, who are supporting this event and giving us some, giving you some answers to questions, which I'm sure you'll have about Alexa and the A-Lady. We'll have to decide what the protocol is. Do you think I should say A-Lady?
Unless you want to give a health warning in advance.
Yeah. The health warning is we're going to use the word Alexa quite a lot if we're not careful. So if you've got one in the room, you don't want her piping up, then be aware that you might need to. I've just turned mine off because that's the easiest way. And we're going to look at what the accessibility features are in particular around how people with disabilities may use Alexa and other devices, and then what they're used for. So we're going to run through some examples with some skills and applications and usages. All of the content that we're sharing with you today will be shared afterwards. That will be a video. You'll be able to access the slides. And we're also taking a note of all the links that are shared today. Any direct sort of outbound link that we can share with you will be put onto the web page at the end for the webinar to be recorded as an archive. So you can ask for that as we go along, but it will also be shared afterwards. So Luke, could you tell me a bit about yourself and what you do at Amazon?
Awesome, thanks Mark. It's great to be virtually here and thank you for the opportunity. So as you know, my name's Luke. I'm part of the marketing team for the UK Amazon devices. So I'm in charge of taking all of our Amazon Echo devices, Fire TV, Fire Tablet, and all of our device categories and bringing them to market. So it's a super interesting, cool job. We get to continue to innovate on behalf of our customers and meet a tremendous amount of people on the front line as well. So it's a super awesome job.
Lovely, thank you. And Robin, tell me a bit about yourself and your role and your usage of the A-Lady. I know you're an enthusiast.
So yeah, I'm head of digital inclusion at AbilityNet, and I'm a very avid Echo user, have been for several years, and I also host a daily podcast on the Echo called Dot to Dot, and we're up to episode 1206 without missing a day. Wow.
Well, that's quite impressive. So
huge.
Yeah. And oh, I've got somebody appearing over my head. Let's get on with the show then. We've got we're going to be working between the two, and first up, we're going to ask, what is a smart speaker? So there are various types of smart speakers. So the first thing we're going to say is, not least because Luke is here and given what Robin has said about his enthusiasm for the Echo Dot, that's where we're going to start today. But there are others devices around. The Apple HomePod, you may have heard of, Google Home, Google Assistant, and then the Echo, which is a family of devices. We've got three of them pictured here. The old Dot that's been running for years, the Show, which has got a screen on it, and what's the other one called? Is it a Pod? Luke, is that?
Echo or Echo Plus, depending on the model that you look at.
Right, so the larger pod with obviously the better sound. So we're getting used to seeing these around in our homes. What we're going to be talking about today is the value that they bring to people with a different range of impairments and needs, and running through some of the ways in which they're set up to do that. So over to you, Robin, to introduce what a pod is for. Sorry, an Echo.
What pod is for? Nice. So I think we're going to start with a poll.
No, we're not. We haven't got any polls set up.
No polls.
My tech trouble. Sorry, that's what
threw me there.
For.
No, sorry. Okay. So yeah, we're going to start off with a little video, but to set the scene for this video, what's an Echo used for, or what's a smart speaker used for? Well, I mean, there's so many. There are nearly 40,000 skills in the UK skill store, well over 50,000 in the US skill store. Skills are like apps for your smart speaker. So when you say, what can you use your smart speaker for? When you talk about the Echo, then, you know, there's like 40,000 answers to that. We're definitely going to cover the bases. We're going to cover the bases today, and we're going to give you examples of many of them. I've got the A Lady piped into the mixing desk here, so we'll be able to hear those loud and clear. But we're going to start off just to kind of show how useful the A Lady is, with a video of, you know, just how the lengths people had to go to before the advent of the Echo. And this is an Amazon video ad that they did for a recent Super Bowl.
Baby, coming. Alexa, turn down the thermostat. Okay, turning down thermostat. Ready? Oh, here we go. What do you think people did before Alexa? Alexa, turn the temperature down 2 degrees. Thank you, dear. Alexa, tell me a joke.
Jokes. God, you think I know loads? Look at me.
Next.
News. Get your news here.
Alex, what's today's news?
Doesn't matter. It's all fake.
Al, play that song I like. Al, next song.
Alexei, tell me something interesting. Okay. The earth is flat and a witch stole his pants. Yeah.
Aleximus, send this message to Prince Constantine.
Alicia, remind me to delete those tapes.
Yes, Mr. President. I ain't deleting. Yeah, I don't know what people did before Alexa. Alexa, play my favorite song.
There you go.
Baby, coming.
So let's look at who they're for. Luke, you've got a very succinct answer to this, I think, as to who may have an Echo.
Yeah, so I think the Echo was designed in 2016, and it's one of those products that continues to innovate and expand. And who they are used for is such an interesting question, because we don't specifically say they're used for one particular person. The way Alexa is built, and to make it simple, we split Echo and Alexa in kind of two sections. So Echo is essentially the device, is the speaker, is the hardware. Alexa is essentially the brain of the product. And you may hear the term called the AI, the artificial intelligence. But anyone can use Alexa, as long as you're able to speak. And the way Alexa is designed is she's designed to always become more accurate to your tone and your pronunciation. So if you speak very fast or you have a slight dialect, over time, Alexa will learn to understand your voice, and it never stops learning. So the more you talk to her, the more you speak and ask your questions, maybe it's about the weather, time, call in, messaging, etc., the more it learns your voice and becomes more accurate over time. And it continues to update as well. So customers don't have to worry about updating their device, like do with laptops and computers and tablets. Because it's connected to the internet, it's continued to update. So it's really difficult to say who they're used for, because they're just used by so many people. My nan, I love it a bit. She's 84 years old. I use this example quite often when I'm talking to customers. And she uses her Echo literally as I would myself today. She uses it for the radio, listen to music, calling her friends and family. But I often meet loads of younger customers, children in fact, that use it for education, just asking simple questions about times, tables, homework. So it's really hard to say who they're used for, because they're adopted by so many different customers and so many different use cases. But the benefit of Alexa is there are so many things you can do, and there are so many different benefits with the product. It's about finding the right benefit and the right use case for you. Mark may love using it for music. I may use my device purposely for calling. And given the current circumstances, calling is by far one of the most popular use cases I'm using my Echo for to date.
Great, thank you. And Robin, you're going to tell us a bit about how this relates to disabled people in terms of the who it's used for. Maybe the answer broadly is everybody. What are the particular sort of examples? We're looking here at speaking and hearing and some of the impairments that people may have. And tell us a bit about where that comes into play for disabled people.
Sure. So, I mean, I'm disabled myself, I'm blind, and I keep on having to remember to kind of look forward. I don't know if I'm looking in the camera, but if I sort of go down a bit, then you'll know why, because it's not natural to have to kind of look in a certain direction. And for me as a blind person, the Echo is an absolute gift because it's a voice-first technology. And just to kind of put it in context, technology is a massive empowerer. That's why AbilityNet exists, to be able to get the message out there. And, you know, since the advent of the PC in the 80s, everything's changed for people with different disabilities because technology is so flexible, and you can, you know, have 100 different ways of using a computer or a smartphone or a smart speaker in this case. And with each advent, with each kind of era of computing, things have got simpler and more mobile. So the PC was great, but, you know, there was a significant learning curve and a significant cost sort of threshold to get into that. And the assistive technologies were extra. They cost a lot of money to make a laptop talk, for example. Then with the smartphone, you could take all of those smarts with you wherever you went, and they were a lot easier to use because people had to impose a lot more discipline on themselves with a much smaller screen. So the content was distilled right down. The UI was much simpler, and you didn't have to read a manual. Hopefully, it was relatively intuitive how to use that device, and that's certainly improved over the decade that we've had smartphones. And then the age of ambient computing came along, voice-first technology like smart speakers, where you can just talk to the air and you don't have to think about how you phrase things. And hopefully you get a really useful response or bit of functionality or whatever it might be. So we're really seeing a broadening out of the affordability, the usability or utility of these devices. They're incredibly useful, and we're seeing people of all ages and all levels of confidence, etc., and in all settings, as Luke's alluded to, using these smart speakers. Now, you might think that you need to be able to speak and hear, for example, to use a voice-first technology, but actually that's not true. And we're going to do a whistle-stop tour through the different accessibility settings of the family of Echo devices, and some of these are only available on those with a screen, but by no means all of them. So let's look at speaking and hearing, as Mark said. So closed captioning, we all hopefully know what that is. You're probably seeing them up on the screen at the moment. Are they working? Those, hello, 1, 2, 3, are they working? So yeah, you've got closed captioning, their subtitles basically coming up on the screen at the moment. And with closed captions, if you ask the A lady to go into the settings, and this is obviously those with a screen, because you need to be able to see those subtitles coming up on a screen, and then you tap on the screen on accessibility, then you can turn on closed captioning, and any video, like a YouTube video or an Amazon Prime video, etc., that has those subtitles there, then they will show up on the screen. Captions are subtly different from subtitles. They are subtitles plus things like gunshot in brackets or dog barks or that sort of thing. So it kind of narrates sound effects as well, or it should do, with good closed captions. So that's what closed captioning is. And obviously for people with a hearing impairment, that's absolutely brilliant. But what about if someone with a hearing impairment can't hear the A lady speak at all? That's Alexa captioning. So with a screen, Echo Show, there's a 5-inch, an 8-inch and a 10-inch version, and they're supremely affordable, guys. You can have the A-lady responses coming up on the screen as well. So almost anything that she will speak out on a normal cylinder one, she will put up on the screen, and many skills support this Alexa captioning as well. So for people who have a significant hearing impairment or no hearing at all, you actually can use voice-first, smart speakers like the family of Echoes if you go for one with a screen. It's really, really powerful. Tap to Alexa is the next one I'm going to mention about, and Tap to Alexa is for people who can't speak. So you again can talk to your Echo. I mean, Luke mentioned that, speech is important, and it absolutely would be if you are using one without a screen. But if you have one with a screen, then you can set up Tap to Alexa in the accessibility settings. You can then have an on-screen keyboard or a sort of set of tiles of common responses, etc., that are context sensitive. So depending on which area of the functionality you're in or which skill you're in, then you can have some pre-formatted responses as well, like quick responses. So you can actually, type in everything that you would have otherwise spoken to the A Lady via Tap to Alexa. And then the last one is calling and messaging without speech. Now, I'm a little bit later and I'm going to play a message that my sister has sent me this morning, and that's a voice message. And we'll hear her talking, but if you can't hear, then you can have a transcript of that coming up on the screen. I think I'm right in saying, Luke, that there aren't live transcriptions on an Echo show of a Skype conversation or a Echo call as yet, but I'm sure that that will come in the not too distant future. So there are loads and loads of settings, loads of ways that you can customize, particularly Echoes with a screen to help. And Luke mentioned before, while we're talking about speaking, that you can slow down her speech or speed it up as well, so that you can get it just the way you like it. And you can also get her to understand exactly how you speak, so that she will answer you by name and she will know your music playlists, etc. So there's some profiling that you can do there so that she can offer you a customized service. So if we go on to the next slide, is about vision, something very close to my heart. So you can see a list of things here, most of which are relatively self-explanatory, but you can invert colors. So if instead of a predominantly white background and dark text, you want to flip that round, then you can absolutely do that. There is color correction in there, and again, these are all under the accessibility settings option. You can, if you have different color blindness, red, green, blue, yellow, etc. There are 3 common types of color blindness. Don't make me pronounce them. Then you can have color correction, so that as those colors come up on the screen, then it will push those colors into the spectrum that will make it easier for you to see. So if there are red and green items on the screen, then they will become much more high contrast for somebody who has that particular condition. Screen magnifier, really self-explanatory. Obviously you need one with a screen again, and you can do gestures on the screen to magnify what you're looking at and to scroll your kind of viewable area around, make that really, really big. And these Echo shows, even though they're very affordable, have really responsive, really clear, crisp touchscreens, so I'm told. So, that's a real pleasure to be able to access content in that way, and combine that with the utility of being able to bring up lots of content very, very quickly and easily. It's a really good way of accessing that information, and that magnification might actually help a lot of people. So have a look at that if you manage to get your hands on one with a screen. Voice view is something that I would have to use, and I would either go into the accessibility settings, or because this one, it's a bit of a catch-22 as a blind person, you can't access the screen till it's running. So this has got its own dedicated speech voice command, A Lady, turn on voice view or open voice view or whatever you want to say, and then she'll start talking to you straight away. And then whatever you touch on the screen is spoken rather than being activated, and you would double tap once you hear the thing you want. You can just double tap anywhere on the screen, and that thing that has focus is activated, and you can access everything that she speaks out to you in that way. And if you're running a particular skill that brings up captions or instructions like a recipe, etc., then all of those can be accessed by roaming around the screen if you want. And you can obviously do things like saying to the A Lady, repeat that if you didn't catch what she said the first time round. So this is really, really powerful. And the last one, show and tell, isn't unfortunately available here in the UK yet, but it's so cool, and it will be here soonish, I'm sure, that I'm going to pass back over to Luke to explain a little bit about what show and tell is.
Awesome, thanks, Robin. So yeah, I think just to echo and just circle back a little bit. So one of the things we do at Amazon is we listen to customers and work backwards from core customer use cases. And one of the things that we identified within the US approximately a year ago is we've got a whole range of Echo devices, and we briefly talked about we've got small devices like Echo Dot, we've got bigger devices with a bigger screen, we've got devices with even bigger screens and bigger speakers. But how can we start utilizing our screen devices in a more of a accessible way? And I mentioned one of the things we do at Amazon, we always start backward, we start from the customer. And a customer came to us approximately a year ago and said, wouldn't it be amazing to use the camera on your Echo Show devices to be able to grab any products within your house and hold it up to the camera to identify what it may be? So it could be milk, the sell-by date, it could be a letter. And that's exactly what we've done. So I'm just going to play a short video quickly now, which will quickly summarize a little bit about the feature, and I'll dive into a little bit more of the feature shortly. It is only available in the US to date, just to be clear. So if anyone has got any UK Alexa devices, you won't be able to use this feature yet. So please hold out for it.
And reorganized it so that I knew where every single thing was, because in my house, I was not going to feel blind. Alexa, what am I holding?
It looks like T4A World of Teas.
But when you have other people in the household, things get moved all the time. Hi, Brett.
Hi, Stacey.
Ready to go?
I guess so.
All right, let's go test it out.
Okay.
My job is to help people with visual impairments and to see how technology can affect people's lives and make them feel better about what they do on a day-to-day basis.
I lost my vision when I was 10 years old. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I do a lot of cooking. There's a lot of things I can't see.
The whole idea for show and tell came about from customer feedback, actually. Challenges around identifying things in their pantry. And we thought, yeah, we can do this. We can help here.
I'm going to give you a product, and then you're going to say,
Alexa, what am I holding?
Let's see. It looks like 365 everyday value. Macaroni.
Great. That's awesome.
I think that's garlic powder.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's critical for us that we're working with our customers, building with them, not just building for them.
They really need our feedback to tell them what we need.
And here's ours to help you position your item. It looks like organic canned pineapple.
Whoa, is that what it is?
All these devices that are acting as your eyes levels. There's less stress on me. And it makes me feel good.
Awesome. So I think in summary, just to summarize the typical feature is customers are empowered to grab a product in their house, maybe the milk, a letter, and Alexa will help position that piece of paper or that milk bottle in the camera and essentially read it out to you. As I said, it is a US only feature at the moment, so it is only available in the US to use. Hopefully it will come over sometime soon. We have no idea when that will be, fortunately. But stay tuned, and as soon as we have any more information about it, we will advise the public via PR and let everyone know about it. One thing I will say though is, and this is when the chat box goes really big and lots of comments. You heard in the video that this particular feature I mentioned came from a customer anecdote. We empower any of our customers. If you have a feature or you have a suggestion and you have a strong use case, please share it to us. 129 people on this call. Feel free to reach out to me directly or reach out through Mark and you can collate, because we are so open to hearing your feedback and your insight to the product. So please share as much or as little as you want, and we'll treat it as confidential as well if you wish.
Luke, just before we go on, there's a couple of questions I just want to cover off. We're obviously focusing on, with your help, focusing on what the Echo devices can do. But there are questions about the other devices, in particular Google Assist. Robin, do you know about the accessibility features in particular around the Google products and the Google? Are they as extensive?
No. I mean, they do have, what's it called? I can't remember what the screen reader is called on the Google Home. Basically, if you want to recommend a speaker to people with a disability or to anyone, then it should be the Echo. And I'm not saying that I am obviously very biased, but with knowledge of the different products, the Google Home is very much more limited. It has some functionality, larger text on the screen, etc., but nothing. You couldn't use it if you couldn't speak. You couldn't use it if you couldn't hear. So I would definitely not recommend it. It has a limited number of actions, as they're called, which are the equivalent of third-party skills on the Echo, around 10,000, and they are, you won't get the household names that you would get with, and which we're going to look at many of coming up on the Echo. So, the vibrant and really inclusive platform is the Echo. So, and the Echo ecosystem with connected devices, etc., is really buoyant as well. So, I would probably say, unless you have a Google Home sitting on your shelf at the moment and you want to know exactly what it can do, I would probably recommend that people go down the Amazon route. Obviously, you can Google Home accessibility and get the answers, but because it's so limited, it has it doesn't really get any airtime in the disabled community.
Great. And those of you following the questions and answers can see various questions about the Amazon accounts and needing to pay and all those sorts of things. We'll definitely cover that at the end, and other questions you've got in here. But there's one in here for you, Luke, about the show and tell. It's just talking about the research. So you're talking about it being in the US. Is it being sort of researched? There's one in here about using it with students with vision impairments. How far have you sort of seen this out in the field and its sort of application?
Yes, it's a super interesting question, and I'll be honest with you, I'm quite limited in what I can say on this particular feature. As I said, it is available in the US, so I honestly don't know when and if it will come to the UK. However, before we do launch any new feature anywhere worldwide, we always ensure that the customer experience bar is a 5-star experience and meets all of the regulations required by EU or software or UK law or US law, etc. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo that to say that I listen to a lot of podcasts in the vision impaired community in particular, and read a lot of news groups, and people are loving that feature. So it's working really, really well over there. Obviously, you need a database of products, and I think that's what's limiting it or kind of delaying it coming over here, but I'm sure it will do. But yeah, I mean, if you've got a cupboard full of tins and no way of knowing whether you're going to be lucky for your lunch and get soup instead of, cat food or kidney beans or something, that's the kind of Russian roulette you'd have to play every day if you didn't have access to a function like this. So yeah, it is really, really welcome. It does work really well. I've had a lot of feedback from people who are using it every day.
Cool. And one other question just before we go into the application stuff is somebody's asking, they're not a user of a smartphone. Is it possible to use Alexa through a laptop?
There are lots of laptops that have her dedicated built in. Even when you close the lid, it will still always be listening. So that's the level of penetration that the Echo has in the marketplace. But you can certainly, if you wanted to buy an Echo, you could use somebody's smartphone to temporarily set it up, and then it's kind of smartphone free from that point onwards. I don't think you can just use alexa.amazon.co.uk via a laptop to set it up.
You can now.
You can now.
Yes, you can
Brilliant.
now. So
that is brilliant.
Yes, just to echo a little bit, Robin, what you said. So I mentioned at the start, there's kind of split Echo and Alexa in two sections. You have Echo, which is the Amazon hardware, and you have Alexa, which is a brain. But what we do with Alexa, the brain, there are loads of thousands of other products available in the market that what we call works with Alexa or Alexa enabled. And this enables independent brands such as Toshiba for their smart TVs, or it could be Sonos and their Sonos high power speakers to actually use the Alexa AI, the software, in their own hardware. So there are a range of laptop manufacturers that do have Alexa incorporated in, but it is down to the partner to assess and if they want to include Alexa into their product.
Okay, thank you. Right, so we've got some applications here. I am about to announce a public warning to both of you that we've got limited time to canter through these. So I know you've got some good examples lined up, and I know you want to play with them, but we've got a few to get through. So please, can you show us some of the sort of applications you think will be relevant from the point of view of the stuff you're using, Robin, or things that you see, Luke, that you know are popular. So the first one is staying entertained. I think we all have an idea of being able to use Spotify and the radio. Can you tell me a bit about what you use it for, Robin?
I think Luke was going to talk to
Oh,
this
is it
one.
Luke?
Happy to.
Sorry, I can't see that here.
So awesome. So staying entertained and music is by far one of the most popular use cases and that we see, and one of the my personal use cases that I use my Echo devices for. I have one right by me now. I have an Echo Plus. I also have our Echo Studio to the right of me as well. But it enables customers just to use their voice and ask for any song, long as they have some sort of subscription-based service. Now, when I say subscription-based service, I did see a question about Amazon Prime. And I think one of the things super important to note when it comes to Amazon products is we do not require customers to be an Amazon Prime subscription or subscribe to Amazon Prime. Customers can buy any of our Amazon devices, Echo, an Echo Dot, a Fire tablet, and they can use third-party services. So for example, if they wanted to use Amazon Music free tier, so there is a free music tier available, and that enables customers to have over 2.5 million songs available that are ad supported. Or if customers do have a subscription-based service, maybe Apple Music, I did say Apple Music as well, just to be clear, Spotify, Deezer, these are all services that we do work with. We want to offer variety and allow customers the variety to pick the service that they want to use and to use. If customers do have Prime, they will get Prime Music included already in their Prime subscription. But it's not necessarily important to subscribe to a music service. As I said, there are free versions of music available. So Amazon Music Free Tier is a great example. One of the most popular use cases I use as well, excluding music, is actually the fact that integration with Audible. So we obviously all heard of Audible, essentially a Kindle book turned into an Audible version. But using Alexa, customers can literally just say, Alexa, play the Harry Potter audiobook, Alexa, play J.K. Rowling, etc., etc., etc. And that will then literally pull it from your subscription service. Same with music. Music is even easier to play. People will have their different playlists, their different genres. And I mentioned at the start as well, and also Robin briefly touched on it, is Alexa understands differences between people in your house. So I live with my parents still, and we all have a very, very different taste in music. My dad loves the 80s. I'm quite down with the charts and quite down with the younger type of music, shall we say. So the nice thing about Alexa is when I go to any of my Echo devices in my house and say, Alexa, play me some music, it knows my voice and it knows I'm talking to the device and will play me all my songs that I've played previously or recommendations. And that will be based on me or other people in my house because it learns the voice. Robin, I think you're going to do a few demonstrations now of some of the features that you can do. But again, it's really easy just to be able to ask for the type of music or the type of audiobook that you would like through your voice, hands-free.
Absolutely. And we should also mention the tune-in integration. So you can literally play any radio station in the world without a subscription as well. Just say the name of the radio station and she'll say, I'm playing that on TuneIn. But let's have a couple of examples. You mentioned the J.K. Rowling book. Now, she's made the first Harry Potter book available free of charge for the duration of the lockdown period, or who knows when she'll make that not available again. But every single one of you guys with an Echo can say, Alexa, play Harry Potter.
Welcome to the Harry Potter quiz from Pottermore Publishing.
That's my mistake. That's the Harry Potter quiz. I have got so many skills enabled because obviously I do a daily show. But yeah, you would just say, read The Philosopher's Stone. Alexa, read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Book 1, from Audible.
He's going to pick up where I left off. You can.
Wizard's Can I keep you moving?
Have a sausage. They're not
time. We're still on the first screen.
I know. Yeah, we'll canter through these.
Got lots of good questions here. So
I also want to mention games though very briefly. So you can play Kindle books as well, by the way, guys. Kindle books. I know they're text, but she will read them to you. But let's do a quick game. Alexa, open the daily question. What's it, question of the day? I think it's called question of the day.
Welcome back to the daily question.
Ooh.
I hope you haven't been looking up the answer on the internet. Let's hear today's question
Alexa,
again.
Stop. So yeah,
Goodbye.
Question of the day sounds more sexy. I've got too many that I'm getting them mixed up. But yeah, you could say play the question of the day and you'll get a really good option as well. But yeah, let's canter on. Should we move on to the next?
Yep. So we're staying in touch now.
Yep. Back over to Luke.
Awesome. And I think staying in touch is super relevant and super important at the moment. Obviously, we're living in what we class as the new normal, it seems like, having the distance in. And staying in touch is a category where we allow customers to use Echo devices, essentially call. So there are various different ways of how you can call. You can use one Echo device to another Echo device. And it doesn't have to be in your house. It can be worldwide. So long as a customer has an Echo device and you have their contact within the Alexa app, you can literally just say with your voice, Alexa, call Emma. And that will call her Echo device. She will get a notification. It will say, ring, ring, ding, ding, depending on the sound effect that you would like. And it will say the person who is calling you. So it will say, Luke is trying to call you. And you can have a two-way conversation, totally hands-free over Wi-Fi. There also is various different ways of what we call kind of an intercom service throughout your house as well. So if you do have multiple echoes in your house, maybe one upstairs and one downstairs, and you want to communicate around your house nice and quickly, the intercom is a great way of doing that. It's exactly like a walkie-talkie system, grabbing the phone, talking into it, and then hearing upstairs. So my girlfriend does it quite often for the cups of teas in the morning and the kettle. There's also integration with Skype as well. So if you do have one of our video screen devices with a camera and a screen, you can use Skype for video calling, or you can use Alexa calling as well for video calling as well. So there are two different preferences. If you are a EE or a Vodafone One Connect customer within the UK, you can enable the brand skill. And what that enables customers to do is have hands-free calling, but done via your mobile phone. So today at the moment, if you use Alexa calling, you're using essentially Wi-Fi and you're calling one device to the other device. But what happens, for example, if your device is not on or you're not at home? Well, your app on your phone will ring as well. So even if you're not at home, you still get that notification. But the benefit of using kind of like EE or Vodafone calling, if you do have that subscription or say subscription, that contract in place, you can make hands-free calls in and out and receiving calls. And it will use your existing minutes on your phone tariff as well from the provider to do that. So just check the phone tariff and your provider to make sure you are eligible first before doing it. But it's super good.
Can I just ask a question, Luke? They're saying, is there any additional hardware necessary to access the landline? You mentioned the landline call. Does it have to be plugged into the wall? How does that work?
So there are a couple of different options. So when we say kind of like landline, so you're using one Echo device to call another Echo device over Wi-Fi. So there's not necessarily any landline because you're not calling the landline as such. If you do use, like for example, EE or Vodafone calling through your contract subscription, essentially Echo is routing the calls using your voice via the EE or Vodafone network, and then you can call the Vodafone landline without no hardware, but you have to be an EE or Vodafone customer in order to do that.
So you can't call out via landline, you can only call in via this to another landline. That's the clarification, I think.
Yeah, you would use your Echo to initiate the call. I think we need to talk offline as well, Luke, because I'm not either of those. I'm with 3. And I've always just been able to ask the Echo to call so-and-so's mobile number or to call such and such business landline, and it just works. And I don't know who's paying for that. But anyway, talk about it later.
Right, I'm going to keep moving. Staying organised. Can we talk about staying organised? Sorry, we've got 15, 20 minutes left before we get to questions. So
yeah, you don't want to hear what a voice message sounds like from my sister?
I'm fine with that, thank you.
Okay,
Let's talk about staying organised.
So
the questions are very different, Robin, to what we're showing. So I really want to get to them.
Staying organised, and now this is a really, really important one, particularly for people that are working from home. You haven't got the kind of structure around you, so you can set yourself lots of reminders. You can set yourself timers. Alexa, set a stop waffling timer for 30 seconds.
Stop waffling timer, 30 seconds.
So that'll
starting now.
Kick in soon. So there are so many things you can do. You can say, add such and such to my shopping list. You can tick things off your shopping list. And when you go to the supermarket, when that's allowed, you can bring all of those up on the A-Lady app on your phone, so you can see exactly what's there, and you can obviously tick them off on that as well. There are loads and loads of ways that you can organise your day. There are dozens and dozens of third-party skills. There's one here called Don't Waste Food. And if I ask her what's in my fridge, then she'll tell me exactly what the contents of my fridge is. There's the alarm.
Your
Alexa,
stop waffling timer is up.
My stop waffling timer. So if I asked her now, open Don't Waste Food, she would tell me exactly what's in my fridge, and there are quite a few things in there. She will tell me the expiry dates, because every time you put something in your fridge and you ask her to add it via that skill, then you tell her what the expiry date is. And if it's something like milk that will start going off more quickly, you have to tell her when you've opened the milk. So that's a really good way of keeping track of what's in your fridge. And there are other skills that will help you keep track of your tasks, to-dos, what you've got around the house, where you've left things, etc., etc. So this is a hugely empowering area for the Echo and for other smart speakers, I'm sure, but just being able to do it all by voice and have her control your life and keep you a bit organised and on task is really, really, really useful.
Great, thank you.
The next one.
Staying informed.
Staying informed. So we've touched on some of these. It's super useful to just be able to ask her any random question. From day one, she's had integration with things like Wikipedia. And when they say, I have found this on Wikipedia, or Recipedia is a more recent one, then you can at least be sure that you'll get continuity of answers, if not, 100% sure about the reliability of the content, because these things are crowdsourced. But nevertheless, you can rely on Wikipedia slightly more than you could from a random search. She will always answer. She will always give you an answer. She won't say, I found this on the web, and give you a bunch of different results like other smart assistants will do. She'll pick one and she'll start reading it out, which is really, really useful. Something like Recipedia, you can have step-by-step instructions, as I mentioned before. Now, and obviously weather and all of the sort of things that you guys are probably very, very familiar with what you can do, calculations, maths, etc. I'm going to pass back over to Luke, because there's a couple of more recent integrations that have been really, really useful in the time of this pandemic.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Robin. And there are so many use cases, so many things we could talk about. Obviously, we're just covering a small amount of features here, but two of the most interesting in staying informed is probably to do with RNIB and also the National Health Service, NHS. So we do have full integration with what we call their FAQs, their frequently asked questions, their web pages, etc., etc. So should you require some information about maybe you've got a cough, or maybe you've got back pain, you can ask Alexa simple questions and she will give you simple answers based on the NHS website. Quite recently, we integrated a partnership with RNIB, so the Royal Institution of Blind, that enables customers to use Alexa-enabled devices and hands-free to ask their questions. And the information is pulled from the RNIB's sight loss advice service. So it could be simple questions like, Alexa, I'm blind, what benefits do I get? Or it could be, how am I able to make my environment more friendly for blind customers? A whole range of questions, a whole range of answers, fully available for customers, just to ask hands-free. And obviously, the information continually always getting updated. So obviously at the moment, with the current situation with coronavirus, you can use Alexa hands-free again to ask all your questions, information about coronavirus, and she will respond back to you with the most recent updated information. Granted, some people may not want to know about that, but there is the facility to do that. And just to resurface again, there are so many things you can do with Echo, you can do with Alexa. We're picking some very simple things here, but there are so many benefits, so many use cases that are available to customers. Honestly, we will be here all day, and I would love to talk to you guys all day as well, should I say. But there are so many things we can talk about and so many core use cases and benefits.
Could I just ask one question that came up, Luke? This about I'm curious about how what you have to do to make this work. I don't know if it's possible. I'm interested to know if blind students could use Echo or Google Home to search for academic journal articles. E.g., could I ask you to email me a link to academic journal articles about farming and robotics, or dyslexia and stress? So are you able to access particular resources via those requests for staying informed, or is it only the pre-configured ones?
Super interesting question. And forgive me, I don't know your name, so thank you for that question. Super interesting. So obviously I can't comment on the Google situation and the Google front. What I can say from Alexa point of view is there are thousands and millions of different information covering all angles of the world, technology, news, disabled, disabilities. Like, sometimes we are very open. There are some information that is not available. Majority of the time we do have all the information available. I think your specific kind of use case and what you're talking about, we will have some content available with Alexa. It's just a case of asking those questions and finding out. However, I think there's probably more to your question. So I'll be super keen maybe just to have a quick conversation with yourself personally, if that's all right. So maybe after this you can drop Mark or Robin a quick email and we can get in touch, because I think there's a lot more in your question, and you've obviously typed a very short question, so it'd be good to actually talk to you directly to understand a bit more about your use case and what you're trying to do.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to stay in shape. Who's that? Is that you, Robin?
I can talk to this one. So staying in shape, that's a really useful one, particularly at this time. There are so many different skills. Just pick a thing to ask her. Hey lady, how can I get in shape? How can I improve my abs, etc.? But many of them have specific skills, and if we had time I would play you a couple. There's a really good one called the Body Coach, a really Cockney Sparrow kind of guy who will get you kind of going for an intensive 7-minute HIIT, high intensive interval training workout. There's one for 5-minute abs. There's stuff for yoga. Just ask her and she will recommend some skills that people have found popular, and the Echo is really good at surfacing those. So yeah, use her for staying in shape. Even if you just want to use her as a timer, I use her as a timer about 3 or 4 times a day. I set a 10-minute timer and I run up and down the stairs, and that's how I keep fit. So yeah, you can use her for that. Just ask her random things about which you want to, which part of your body you want to improve, or just for a random workout, and she'll do that.
Great, thank you. Staying in control, I think this is stepping into this is the more bleeding edge end of it, isn't it now, where we were talking about some of these applications exist and some of them are about the ways that we're going to integrate with other ecosystems.
So there's a huge number of third-party, as Luke mentioned earlier, devices that is such a massive ecosystem. You can smarten up many things. You can get A-Lady connected TVs or enabled microwaves, washing machines, etc. Simple things like light bulbs. You can get blinds from IKEA that will work with the A-Lady. You can just buy a plug that will turn a dumb thing like a fan into a smart thing by just passing through electricity or not. And you can name all of those so it's intuitive to say, A-Lady, turn on the fan. Or if you've got more than one, turn on the bedroom fan or the standing light or whatever it might be. You can name them very easily, and now you can rename them by voice. That's a recent thing that you can do. So those things just work. And I think this area for people with disabilities cannot be overestimated. So my sister, all of our family are blind, but she also has MS. She's now been in bed for about 15 years, and the only thing she can move is her head. And she used to have a dedicated environmental control system called a Possum, which cost £7,500. And she would hit a button with her head, and the menus, there were lots of nested menus for the different things that it could do, would speak out. And to be able to get down to the menu to change the channel, and then get down to the channel that she wanted to change, would take whole minutes of speaking out the different items in the submenus. But now she's got an Echo in her room. She's got a number of smart devices. One of them is a Harmony home hub, which is like a programmable, Alexified universal remote. So things like her TV and her DVR that aren't smart, but can be used via a remote control, can now be fired at, controlled by the Harmony that's on a shelf, and that's controlled by her Echo. Cost £200, all in. All of the smart devices in her room cost less than £200. So compare that to the specialist stuff that she had before that was infinitely less quick and easy to use and really never got updated. So this is an incredibly powerful area. Call AbilityNet's free phone number or have a look at our website for a massive amount of extra information about this area, which I think is probably one of the most compelling when you're talking about what smart speakers can do for people with disabilities.
And in terms of the ecosystems, I guess we're seeing this happen very quickly. That Apple has its own, and Amazon and Google all have different input devices, if you like, the voice systems. But there are actually lots of connections between the underlying technologies, as I understand it. You will be able to find a piece of technology that could work both on an Apple and an Amazon and a Google network. You know, the smart home is not going to be owned by one technology company, it would appear.
There were a number of different standards for connected home devices, and thankfully there's much more standardization now. They've kind of got together and agreed on standards. So yeah, you can buy a device, basically whichever is your ecosystem, you're going to have a massive amount of choice in a range of different price brackets to smarten up your environment.
Cool, thank you. Luke, is there anything you want to add about where Amazon is at in terms of this space and what's happening next?
Yeah, so I think to summarize, we have so many different functionalities that is available for customers to use within the brands. So if the brands would like to connect within the Alexa ecosystem, it's down to the brand to do it. There are thousands of brands in the UK that do work with Alexa. As Robin said, there is that kind of standardization coming along now. So we are seeing a lot more parity across the market, which allows customers to buy a product and not worry, would it work with this, would it work with that? But I would say though, there are loads of value smart home products that are available to buy to date. A great example is just like simple stuff like smart plug. I've got loads of light bulbs around my house that are on a standard on and off switch. A smart plug basically becomes your automatic on and off switch for Alexa. So you literally a £25, £20 plug it into your existing lamp, connect up to Alexa. 1 minute later, you can say, Alexa, turn your light on and off. So there are loads of small, simple stuff that you can do. We didn't even mention about heating, like Hive and Nest, for example. These are all third parties that work with Alexa and the smart home. But we are seeing a huge trend. Loads more brands are working with Alexa. And we are seeing that compatibility become a lot more streamlined as well now. It is still day one. Smart home is still very new and very infant, but it's a huge trend, and it's a trend that continues to grow.
Great, thank you. So, questions and answers. Now, I've got quite a lot in here. I'm going to focus principally on the ones that relate to disability. There are some others, and I say that because we'll do our best to answer these questions afterwards as well, and to share links back onto the webinar page. We've given ourselves another 10 minutes for this, so there's plenty of time to pick at these, but I'm going to pick the ones related to disability. There's a couple here relating to voice, and about the quality of the interaction with any of these devices, but I'm obviously, from your point of view, Luke, quiet voices, voices where somebody has a disability and their voice is therefore changed from how it had been before for some reason, and also accents and so on. I mean, you were talking about Alexa learning. What's the parameters of that? How much can it deal with in terms of the non-standard voice systems? That's probably what trained it. How far can it deviate from that?
Yeah, it's a super interesting question again. So as I said, like Alexa is built to learn, and it will become more accurate over time. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me, but I talk very, very fast. I do get told I speak very, very fast, so I do have to slow myself back down. And my girlfriend, for example, has a stutter. And now Alexa's kind of learned to remove that stutter and focus on the core words. So what I would say to customers is bear with Alexa sometimes. If you do have a speech impairment, it will take slightly longer for Alexa to really kind of understand and really kind of get into the detail of what you're pronouncing, or if you're talking very quiet, for example. But it is learned to build a profile in like a virtual profile that continues to build and continues to update. So if your voice does change, it should automatically start working to accommodate that and recognize your voice. I hope that answers your question.
I think so. Just to add to the quiet one, I noticed it's got a whisper mode. Is that it's
Absolutely.
talking back quietly, but that's not the same as talking to it?
No. So absolutely. So whisper mode is a super interesting feature, and one of the things that we found, again from a customer feedback, is customers love Echo for their bedroom. So if you've got an Echo Dot as your alarm clock, however, if you set your volume to like 8, bear in mind the volume is set 1 to 10 for the max, 10 being the loudest, 1 being the lowest. Say in the night time you're playing your music and it's set to volume 8, and you go to bed, and in the middle of the night or early in the morning when your partner's asleep, you want to ask Alexa a question. However, you don't want Alexa to shout at you at the volume 8. So whisper mode basically interprets your voice. So if you speak very, very quietly, Alexa will automatically speak very quietly back to you as well. If you speak really, really loud, guess what? Alexa will do exactly the same thing and repeat exactly what she can hear in her voice as well for you. So that's a setting you just got to turn on and off in the Alexa app. Or you can just say to Alexa device, Alexa, turn on whisper mode, and that will turn it on for you on your device.
One thing I would add to that, and which is super useful, it is, but if you when the boffins, one of the main challenges that it had with smart speakers was cancelling out acoustic echo in a room. So I'm in quite an echoey room here, shut the door because the other guys are supremely noisy in the house always. Then you can get a lot of echoes, and for people who have a speech impairment or their speech isn't like as classically normal sounding as most people's, if you speak more quietly, then you can reduce the amount of acoustic kind of bounce. And we've found that your speech impairment is more forgiven in the, in her ability to understand it. So you might want to try that. But if you've got whisper mode turned on, then she's always going to speak back in a whisper, and that can be quite creepy as well. So you might want to turn it off there. I think it's off by default. So if she's having difficulty hearing you, it might depend on where you're located, where she is, in what kind of acoustics the room has, and speaking more quietly can actually get better results sometimes.
Right, thank you. And I don't know, Luke, how much you know about the research that goes on around the voice recognition. I know we had Google at TechShare Pro, and we had somebody talking there about the use of AI and recognizing voices, and building up that knowledge. Does Amazon do any specific work around this in terms of reaching out and connecting with people with speech or understanding and writing needs? And the particular example here that's been mentioned is aphasia.
It's 2 o'clock.
Thanks, Helene.
To summarise, I know we've still got quite a lot of questions, but to summarise, absolutely. I mentioned that we always start back from the customer and work from the customer backwards. The best way for us to find out information and also to build our products on behalf of our customers is start from the customers. So we often do loads of different testing with customers and various different things, and listen to customers to understand what they're like and don't like. So in short, yes, we do.
Cool. And somebody's asked about using the Amazon Fire Stick as an example of something where Alexa is embedded in another device, and they're all using the same algorithm. Presumably all of the technologies underlying them, irrespective of which device you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, so when you think of Echo and Alexa, Echo is the hardware, is the speaker, is the microphones. Alexa is the brain, is the AI. Alexa is cloud-based. So if you've got 5 Echo devices, 2 Fire TV sticks, a couple of Fire tablets, and you may even have some what we call third-party enabled Alexa products. Maybe a Sonos One speaker or a Bose 500 speaker, or maybe some of the independent smaller brands that have Alexa enabled. The functionality is exactly the same. The voice recognition, the technology, the skill store is the same. There's parity across them.
Cool.
I would also quickly say on the feedback point, there is a feedback tab in the A-Lady app and on alexa.amazon.co.uk. And
you can provide feedback directly to Amazon via that, yeah. So another question here about the one that's been coming along since the beginning around security issues, and this is true with all smart speakers. I think people are obviously concerned about what's being stored, what's being listened to, the privacy issues, both for themselves and obviously on behalf of other people that they may be supporting or working with. What's your take on that, Luke, from Amazon's point of view?
Yeah, honestly, again, all these questions are super, super interesting, super valuable. And this is by far, I'm going to be honest with you, a popular question because everyone is thinking it. And I am a customer as well. I think it too. What I would say is that Amazon treats their customers' confidentiality extremely seriously. You give us trust in us and we give trust back to you. As a customer, you have full visibility in your information and all of the different questions that you ask Alexa. We don't use any of the commands. When you ask Alexa, what's the time or what's the weather, we don't use that to target you in any marketing or anything like that, for example. We just use it to make sure that Alexa is responding back to how you would like Alexa to respond back to, with the correct answers and the pronunciation and tone, etc. We're very, very open, and we have a dedicated privacy hub. So amazon.co.uk/myprivacy. Within that hub, you can find everything you want to know all about your Alexa device and what you do with it. And you can control what happens with your privacy. So you can use your voice now straight away with your Echo device and ask Alexa to delete everything to do with your privacy through your voice. So we make it super easy for customers to see and hear what they have asked their devices and what they use with them. Privacy is a hot topic, and we make it easy for customers to have the control with it.
I would add to that. So yeah, you can say delete my voice history and it's gone. And is she listening all the time? Absolutely, for that name, nothing else. She's not recording things. She's not kind of constantly monitoring. She's literally waiting for a waveform that is her name, and then she perks up and listens to the command afterwards. So yeah, if you are concerned about things always listening, don't have a smartphone in your house, because that ship will have already sailed at that point. So yeah.
Right, thank you. So a couple of quick ones. We didn't. Somebody's asking, did we get some other people in, like Google Nest, for example? We do have contacts with Google. We chose to focus on Alexa. We've more than filled this time. We would have doubled the amount of time we'd have covered if we had someone else.
We can do this all day if we want to.
There are hundreds of examples from Alexa, which would be true in other settings as well. So this was really a good chance to go through where we felt it crossed over with disability. There are other devices and other uses and use cases, similar use cases with different tech solutions and branded solutions. Question for you, Robin, I think. It says, can it be used to take dictation or do speech to text? I know that you use that a lot on your, on all of your Apple devices. That's how you communicate through email and other things. Can you use Alexa to leave dictation or voice to text?
There are lots of skills that will enable you to do that, to be able to dictate to it and have a record of what you've just said. The notes feature that's still US only, I want it to come over here, is brilliant, because you can just say, take a note, blah-de-blah, and it will be your external brain. She'll remember everything that you said, from phone numbers to people's birthdays to where you left your keys, and then you can query that. Hey, A-lady, where are my keys? When is John's birthday? So that is like an external brain. That's absolutely brilliant. If you want a transcript to use it as some sort of dictation device, then my question would be, what's your need? If it's to kind of dictate an essay or something, then this isn't the right platform for that. You need a computer. But certainly if somebody sends you a voice message, or if you send a voice message to yourself, then you'll get a transcript of that and you can look at it on your phone and you could copy and paste that somewhere else. So if you need it to take down a quick kind of aid memoir, you can absolutely do that.
Which just links back to another question we had earlier about memory and cognitive burden. I don't know whether there's any research around that, about the nature of using these devices for people where there may be questions about their memory usage, or whether that's through dementia or for example, or aphasia, or other areas where people have difficulty with their cognitive skills.
There's a brilliant skill or capability within the Echo called Blueprints, and it makes every user able to create a skill of their own and publish it to their own kind of private ecosystem. And a lot of people use this for when guests come into the house. It gives them information about where you go to the, where the toilets are, what the, I don't know, where the keys to the back door are or whatever. If you've got, you know, somebody who's a dog sitter or something, then you can provide all that information there. If somebody's got dementia and you've got carers coming in, then you can just set that up with key information so that when the carers query that, then that is going to give them the information that they need, so you can customize that. And you can do that all by voice, and that will just work within your house. So that's super powerful as well.
Cool. This one sounds difficult to me, but you may have examples. This person works with deaf-blind people. Do either of you have any experience of how this may fit into their needs?
If you're deaf-blind, you're going to be a Brailleist, and there isn't Braille support on these smart speakers yet, and I don't know if there ever will be, because Braille support is something that you will have a solution for already. If you're deaf-blind, you will have a refreshable Braille display, and you will have a smartphone, unless you've acquired those very late in life, in which case, you know, you probably would stick to printed Braille that you would get through the post from the RNIB, that sort of thing. But if you're a technology user and you've got a significant sight and hearing impairment, Braille will be your go-to medium. And there I would use the assistant on your phone, the really good Braille support on Windows, macOS or iOS, etc. Not brilliant, not so great on Android. And I wouldn't necessarily see your smart speaker as your kind of go-to place, because you're going to have that technology sorted already.
Thank you. One more here for you, Luke, about accessibility of generally of skills. Clearly, there may be some accessibility features and functions. We know from AbilityNet's point of view that there are lots of accessibility features built into an iPhone, just as an example, which are then not used or even switched off by application developers when they're building apps. Does the same thing apply for skills? Do you need to encourage your developers of skills to use the accessibility features?
Yeah, so it's, again, another super interesting, valuable question. Because skills are like apps, we give all the tools and resources to the skill developers. It is down to the skill developers to build these additional functionalities within their skill. We do work very, very closely, though. I would say extremely closely with all of our skill developers in order to make sure that that customer experience bar is the right bar and the 5-star experience that we do want. So I can't say all skills are accessible, because that is incorrect, but we do try our best to try and work with the brands and the skill developers to ensure that the bar is high as well.
Great, thank you. I've got 2 more points. One is somebody mentioned that the Google Lens app does a similar task to the show and tell. As does
several on iOS and Android. Yeah.
The Microsoft app.
Seeing AI.
Seeing AI does as well, doesn't it? It can recognize products. There's a final question for me then, because I think this has popped up as a thread through this, Luke, is there's clearly a difference in what you can get in different countries, and a difference in some of the ways that the apps work. What sits behind that? Is that just specifically around business sort of constraints around IP and other things, or is there other practical considerations? You know, if we hear about something that's in the States, is there a reason why it's not here in the UK and vice versa?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, apologies in advance, I don't have a solid answer to this question. What we do though, and I have said this a couple of times, is we only launch a feature or product when it's right for the customers, and when it's proven to fully work with the customers. There are lots of features that are available within the US. Some features are specifically available in India and not the US. And that may be because it's a specifically requested or a feature launch that's built for that particular market. We are confident to date that we do have everything and more for our customers. However, that doesn't stop us innovating. We will continue to innovate for our customers and build new use cases and work backwards from our customers. But I think because of the way technology works, there'll always be that kind of gap from the US to the EU. And we see that across the board. It's not just in kind of the smart speakers. When we look at actually core technology, TVs, laptops, and everyday essentials, it's very similar to actually kind of physical technology. So this is not a isolated incident with software. This is a global technology issue. There's lots of products. I'm a bit of a geek. I joined Amazon because I love the products, but I'm a geek at heart. And loads of products I love are only available in the US, not available in the UK, unfortunately. So this is a global issue, not necessarily an Amazon issue.
Great, thank you. So thank you both of you. There's plenty of questions in here. Actually, I can see another one in here which points to the next webinar, because somebody here is saying, I'm looking to help my dad who's in a wheelchair and has limited hand function. In the first instance, I'd like to get him able to see his family on screen, a Zoom meeting, for example, but also to help with his door entry. And that immediately made me think of the Facebook product portal, which is probably the next era of products that are coming in, where you're still speaking to your device, but they're more bespoke potentially. They have a particular function. Clearly, you know, Amazon has a range of products in that space. You can imagine other tech companies there. So I think what we've tried to do today is give you what is necessarily a gallop through lots of different areas where people are already familiar potentially with using devices in this way, but we've tried to pick up where they're particularly valuable for disabled people. And I hope that gives you some insights. Lots of the questions that you're asking are answerable because they're not specifically to do with technology, to do with disability. They are answered on Amazon's website and others, about how smartphones, how smart devices work, all the smart home stuff. They're hugely complicated questions when it boils down to your house and the things you're trying to do. So I think that's where we can potentially help in the future with further webinars. So if there's things you want us to do to cover in more detail, please do put your questions into the question box, and we'll do our best to do that in the future.
Absolutely. And just echoing any ideas, any suggestions, we'd love to hear customers' feedback at Amazon. We do take it extremely seriously. So please share any insights, any ideas, anything you've got with us, because we do take it seriously and we will make sure it goes to the right people within our development team.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Luke. Fantastic range of questions that you've answered there for us, and a huge breadth of the topic that we created. And Robin, as ever, just your insight. I'll mention that you run the Dot to Dot podcast. You mentioned that at the beginning. That's a daily 5-minute skills demo show. I think, is that what will open it?
Yeah, so if you know about podcasts, so wherever you want to listen to it, just search for Dot to Dot, 3 words. But if you want to, and you can do that on the Echo, play that. But if you want to add it automatically to your flash briefing so that you get it along with news every morning or whenever you invoke that, then you just ask her to enable the daily 5-minute skill demo show. And that's
as an example, can you tell me what you did yesterday?
Oh gosh, I think it was advanced stuff about reminder and alarm management, but it's between 2 and 5 minutes, guys, so it's not going to take up too much time.
And which episode number was today? What episode is it on now?
1206, I think.
Yeah, so that's nearly 4 years, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be demoing something really kind of fun and engaging. So it's not always kind of dry how-to stuff, but that's really important as well, to kind of get a balance between entertainment, information, and, you know, organization and stuff like that. So yeah, the daily 5-minute skill demo show, because Amazon, for whatever reason, don't allow you to use any A-lady related words in a skill name at all, not even dot. So yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is part of AbilityNet Live. We've been running a series of events every week in response to the coronavirus, and we'll be continuing this as we go along. Have a look at abilitynet.org.uk/live, and you'll see not only the upcoming events, but an archive of all the events that we've run over the last 6 or 7 weeks. We've had literally thousands of people join us for those events, like today, focusing on disability and technology and the practical usage of that technology to help people in their day-to-day lives. So thank you, Robin, thank you, Luke, and thank you to everybody who joined us. And do keep your eye open for the show notes and other things that are shared afterwards. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.